I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, today we're reading from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15, and let's focus on several verses, beginning with verses 1 and 2. At the end of every 7 years, you must cancel debts. This is how to cancel a debt. Every creditor is to cancel what he has lent his neighbor. He is not to collect anything from his neighbor because the Lord's release of debts has been proclaimed. Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 9. Be careful that there isn't a wicked thought in your heart. The seventh year, the year of canceling debts, is near, and you are stingy toward the poor brother, and you give him nothing. He will cry out to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty. Deuteronomy 15, verse 11 says this, For there will never cease to be poor people in the land, and this is why I am commanding you. You must willingly open your hand to the afflicted and the poor brother in your land. Deuteronomy chapter 15, verses 12 and 13. If your fellow Hebrew, a man or a woman, is sold to you as a slave and serves you 6 years, you must set them free in the 7th year. And when you set him free, do not send him away empty-handed. I'd like to invite you to reflect on today's chapter through the lens of Jesus' message at his hometown synagogue in Nazareth. And here's the setup. Jesus is handed the scroll of Isaiah. He's quoting the prophet Isaiah. And Isaiah was prophesying what the Messiah would proclaim once he arrived. And it all refers to our chapter today, Deuteronomy 15. So consider this from Mark chapter 4, verses 16 through 19. The scroll of the prophet Isaiah was given to Jesus. And unrolling the scroll, he found the place where it is written, The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to preach the good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to set free the oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. So what is the good news that Jesus was proclaiming? Well, in essence, he was asking, are you enslaved to this world? Are you afflicted, made lame by your sin? Are you poor in spirit, indebted to the Lord and unable to pay it off because of your lack of righteousness? Well, if so, then I've come to set you free. That's exactly what he was preaching. And if you perceive that he's describing you, then you should rejoice because he has proclaimed your year of Jubilee as well. But you must act now because it is imperative that we accept his offer of freedom now in this life, because it will not be offered after you die. Hebrews chapter 9, verses 27 and 28. And as it is appointed for men to die once, but after this, the judgment. So Christ was offered once to bear the sins of many, to those who eagerly await for him. He will appear a second time apart from sin for salvation. When Jesus comes back, he's not coming back to pay the sin penalty for more people. No, he's coming back in order to reckon accounts. Jesus' name in Hebrew is Yeshua. And Yeshua in Hebrew means God's salvation. So in Jesus, the salvation of God has truly come. And by his grace, he offers salvation to anyone who would believe by faith, turn from their sin, and receive it. And if you haven't already, you should surrender your life to him now, while the season of canceling debts is here, before the time of reckoning appears, the day of judgment where all sin will be called to account, and when those without atonement will be forever cast out. If you want to know more about how to receive Jesus, you can go to our website, and there's a section on our front page called The Gift. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. If you want to know more about how you can receive salvation, check us out at groundworksministries.com.